Alright, today I thought we'd have a little bit of a change of scenery, as you might be able to tell from the very fetching sweater that I'm wearing today and the tree behind me. Have you figured it out yet? Yeah, it's Christmas time, so it's a Saturday afternoon, weekend before Christmas that I'm recording this video. The girlfriend's out in town doing a little bit of Christmas shopping. I'm sitting in front of the tree drinking a ginger tea. Very nice. And it actually got me thinking, well, this has been Christmas 2011. It was actually 20 years ago that I got an Amiga 500 Plus for Christmas off my parents. Now, if you've watched my video about the first ever computer I owned, at the time I was running a Commodore Plus 4 as my main machine. My folks didn't really have a lot of money around that time to spend on, you know, gadgets and gizmos and toys for me and my brother. So at the time, I mean, I'd looked at the Amiga, I'd seen it, a few of the kids at school had one, but you know, I always imagined that was probably out of our price range. So I'd asked my mum and dad actually for a Commodore 64 for Christmas 1991, and they did tease me with it a little bit actually. So I remember them saying a couple of days before, you know, I was really excited about the fact that I was going to get a Commodore 64, and I was, you know, asking my mum, have you been to Dixon's, which is what used to be a high street electronics retailer here in the UK, and she'd been along and asked about it, and she, you know, basically said to me a couple of days before Christmas, you know, when I was saying, should we maybe go out and buy some games for the Commodore 64 that I'm going to be getting, and she sat me down and she's a bit like, you know, I don't want to break the bad news to you, but you're not actually getting a Commodore 64. And I remember actually being quite heartbroken for a couple of days. Of course, it all went away on Christmas Day morning, 1991, when I unwrapped my big main present, and it turned out to be an Amiga 500 Cartoon Classics pack, which absolutely blew me away. I couldn't believe it. I'd love to have a photo actually to show you. I think there is still a photo at my mum's place of me opening the wrapping, and my eyes are like, you know, on stalks out of my head. So yeah, that was 20 years ago now. Time's gone pretty quick. I'm older, not much wiser, but speaking of 1991 though, the reason I'm doing this video is because I was back at my parents' house recently, and my mum wanted me to clean some of my old crap out the attic. So I was up there having a bit of a look around, and I found a few boxes of old magazines. A lot of them are like dance music magazines, and some old computer mags in there as well. And nestled between them, I found something I thought was quite interesting, and I've got no idea how I got this, but it's actually a Commodore Schools Catalogue from 1991, sent out to schools in the UK and Ireland, I believe, from Commodore Business Machines UK. Now, at the time, the UK education industry, the standard for it was Acorn Archimedes machines. We had a bunch of those at my school, the desktop Archimedes and also the all-in-one A3000 machines, I believe they were called. Before that it was the Acorn BBC Micro, so Acorn pretty much dominated the UK education market for a good decade. Commodore, obviously, though it seems, did actually try and make some inroads there. They weren't very successful though. I don't think I ever saw an Amiga in my school, for example. But I'm not exactly sure how I got hold of this. I'm presuming that, you know, maybe one of the teachers at school gave it to me at the time because they knew I was an Amiga fan or whatever, I don't know. Now I'm using the built-in microphone to record this video, so hopefully I'm not too echoey, but I figured we'd go to the kitchen table and I give you a little closer look at the Commodore School Catalogue from 1991. Alright, so we're up at the kitchen table now. As you'd expect from any self-respecting geek, it's also another place where technology lives when we're not eating here. My MacBook Pro and other stuff live up here. You know, it's another place to enjoy technology when I'm not in the office. Right then, so I'll have a look at this Commodore Schools Catalogue from 1991. Pretty minimal cover, as you can see. There is a little, it's quite a nice design actually, a little montage of the currently available Amiga machines up there. And also it was around the time that Commodore got into making PCs as well. So there is actually a few of those included in here, but you can see stuff like the Amiga 2000 there, the 3000, the CD-TV that's there as well. And if we go inside of it, I'm hoping you can see all this clearly enough on the camera. I'm recording it in 720p, so that should be clear enough if you watch it in HD. You do get a message, an introduction here from Stephen Franklin, who was the managing director of Commodore UK at the time, and kind of talking about a little bit about the past of the company really, and also his history too. And he's talking about how solutions offered by Commodore bridge the gap between industry, school and home, MS-DOS PCs for business applications, Amigas for creativity, such as art, music, and CD-TV, the true multimedia machine. So despite the fact that you hear a lot of comments about Commodore never understanding what they've got, it does actually do quite a nice little synopsis there of the Amiga's strengths, particularly for the education market as well. Now you've got a little contents page here too. If we go inside, they're actually doing a few case studies in here actually of schools that did use Commodore machines in education. So it looks like it did actually have a little bit of success, maybe, unless it was supplied, you know, purely for the sake of doing this little case studies in here as well. One is a school in Middlesex where they're talking about they had 27 networked Amigas as well to do business information studies apparently with Amigas and PCs that they taught across all curricular subjects. So they were he actually sings the praises of the Amiga here, the headmaster of the school. An added benefit of the Amiga is that it's an affordable high street computer many pupils have at home and are therefore able to do their schoolwork at home and bring them in on disk, which, you know, at the time I had to sadly transfer everything onto either PC disks using cross-DOS and, you know, other solutions like that. There's a school there in Nottingham where they used the Amiga in IT, it says there, with 24 Amigas in school, including daily use of Dulux Paint, Dulux Print and Publisher's Choice. So yeah, we get a few little case studies there as well. And then they go into the Amiga range, which in 1991, it doesn't actually look that much actually. It only had really 4 base machines really. The Amiga 500, the 2000, the 2000 there, the 3000 and the CD-TV. You know, a little bit later on this year they come out with the 500 plus and then the 600, 1200, 4000 the year after. There's a little bit of talk there about the CD-TV. The latest addition to the Commodore range provides the versatility of the Amiga and the storage capacity of CD-ROM to become the latest exponent of interactive multimedia. Now it's something that's actually quite interesting, because when you saw a CD-TV in the shops back then, you never got the Amiga branding on it or anything. In fact, I heard that they had instructions to actually separate the CD-TV and their Amiga displays by several meters, so they weren't associated with each other. So it's quite interesting to see that actually, you know, linked it in with the Amiga section on here too. Then if we look over there, there's a few generic Commodore PCs that they had at the time, including 2 Commodore laptops that they had that I don't think I'd seen before, running 286 processors, one at 12 megahertz, one at 16 megahertz, black and white screens as well, which is quite interesting. I didn't know they did those. I think that machine there, the 386 machine, they'd go on to use that case for the Amiga 4000 the year after. There's also a section there of some educational software available, including Logo for the Amiga. You may have used that if you're at school in the UK. We actually had a robotic turtle that we'd direct around the room with that. Maths programs, school licensing schemes that were going on around the time. Mavis Beacon teaches typing too. I think everybody's used that, yeah. The Complete Works of Shakespeare, which was a CD-TV title that also worked on PCs as well, if I remember rightly. The Wordsworth processor, they're talking about true WYSIWYG display and how it'll look like you make on the screen when you print it out. We've also got some examples here as well of desktop video that was used with an Amiga 2000, the Editman desktop video editor, which, you know, a long time ahead of computer editing becoming standard. More CD-TV titles talking about the timetable of history in the science section here. Some PC applications there too. I do like the graphics they've used actually. They do look really quite creative the way they've made this little montage here. Art and design, they're talking about Dulux Paint 4 there as well. That it can use the 4096 colour palette in hand mode. Dulux videos in there too. The Softune system, which yeah, looks like a capture, some kind of capture, it's chroma color, so it'd be chroma keys and stuff like that. Basically importing real life objects into video. Cameras there as well, Genlocks, Cartooners, I don't remember that one. Dulux Paint Animation, that of course was part of the Dulux Paint 4 suite. XCAD as well, that of course was quite a very famous modeler back in the day. Amiga Knit, if you're into knitting, I think I've ever tried that one. Sketchmate we've got here as well. Robotic arm. I always wanted a robotic arm. Never even got to see one of those. I think it was watching it in the Short Circuit movie, when Newton Crosby has one. I always fancied playing with one after that. Never did though. Might have to get on eBay. Yeah, some more design apps here as well if you're into CAD. Music software and hardware there as well. Talking about MIDI expansions for the Amiga there as well. And yeah, basically just, you know, a few things that you could get, sound modules for the machine. Then they're talking a bit about the packs here as well. The Class of the 90s First Steps pack that was released in 1990 as the decade kicked off. That was Commodore's big Amiga 500 pack back then. Talking about basically a few different packages they could do for schools. Home economics as well, another mention for Amiga Knit. I'm really going to have to get that downloaded. Sounds good, yeah. Hutchinson Encyclopedia, that was a CD-TV title, reference library section. That's where CD really came into its own. I mean, we're talking here a good, like, what, 4 years before Microsoft came out with Encarta. Administration and networking, probably a bit more on the PC side of things than the Amiga. All their PCs were supplied with Novell network cards and software. Then you've got a little section there that you can fill in if you'd like to find out more or order anything for the school that you work for. And the Commodore Business Machines UK address in Maidenhead. I wonder what that place is now. If anyone lives in Maidenhead, have a look. A few of the suppliers where you could buy the Amiga from or were producing Amiga software at the time. And yeah, it's a little close up at the back there of the Commodore logo and UK phone numbers, which I'm guessing you probably wouldn't reach them on that anymore. So there you go, I thought it might just be a little bit of an interest to have a look back at, you know, because everyone always says that Commodore never did anything to promote the Amiga above games, but it seemed that they were trying to make inroads into education, at least in 1991 here in the UK. So if you want to follow me on Twitter and Google+, I will post my links in the video description and leave a comment.